Traders, how are you? With Marcello. Today we're doing the market recap, talk about finances, planes falling out of the sky, trade wars, and immigrants being deported. Let's go ahead and get started. Overall, for the week, the markets in the United States were negative. The Communist Republic of Canada was up 0.77%. This is mostly due to a new AI system that comes out of China called Deepseek that went up to be the top free app in the Apple Store in the United States. They supposedly were able to develop this AI system much cheaper than all of the rivals, including Stability AI and even ChatGPT, which is run by obviously OpenAI, which is more like closed AI. And obviously they received money from Microsoft. But there was a little bit of rumor swirling around that they were able to do this without the NVIDIA chips, because NVIDIA is the one that provides mostly all of the AI chips that a lot of these companies use. They fell 17%, which was the largest drop for any company according to market cap in the history of the United States, or history of the world, I should say. But Wednesday, the Fed, which is the central bank in the United States, decided to pause the lowering of the interest rates and signaled that they will pause according to subsequent moves depending on what the economy is going to show. And the trade war with Trump has officially started on Thursday. He announced that he was going to put 25% tariffs on both Canada and Mexico and 10% on China. He says that it's based on the fact that they didn't allow and are not allowing, they're not doing anything to stop the illegal immigration into the country in the United States. And in addition to that, stop the drugs like fentanyl, which are killing a lot of Americans as well. The Canadian dollar dropped the lowest level since 2003. And in some of the conspiracy theory news, we got planes falling all over the place. Obviously, we had the accident with the helicopter in Washington, D.C. There was another plane that fell in the middle of an intersection in Philadelphia. There's a video I saw on social media where there's an elderly gentleman just sitting in a chair and a piece of the plane just knocks his, I didn't see afterwards what happened, but just knocks his hat right off of his head before he was able to duck. It was unbelievable. I've seen planes down here in Colombia go down recently as well. I think it has to do something with the magnetism of the earth. It could be the sun, for example, that's affecting the earth, or could be. Overseas market news, European markets were higher. Spain was the biggest winner there at 3.22%. Latin America was mixed. The Bovespa in the Brazil, the biggest market in all of Latin America, was up 3.01%. One of the things I didn't mention about the trade wars is it really isn't going to hurt the United States, especially with Mexico and Canada, because Canada and Mexico export a much larger percentage of their economies to the U.S. than the U.S. does to these two countries. So it's like 1.2, 1.7%, something maybe 2%, 3%. So it's a really small amount of what the U.S. exports to them, whereas them to us, it's 20, 30%. So we can really debilitate their economy with the tariffs, but they can't really hurt us at all. Africa and the Middle East was mostly higher. Looking at the numbers here, South Africa was up almost 2%. There's some abuses of power, let's say, in the government that's going on in South Africa. They are land grabbing, basically. They're just passing laws or taking land away from white farmers and things like that. Trump has now decided to stop the aid going to South Africa until an investigation is done. Asia, and the Pacific markets, the far east, all mixed, with the Philippines being the biggest loser at over 7%. And Bitcoin dropped under 100,000 this week, hitting its lowest in 11 days. For the week, it ended up at 101,836. As of Saturday morning, went down almost 3% this week. And Trump Media, which is the parent company of Truth Social, which is his social media company, on Wednesday, they announced that they're going to start getting into financial services, including potentially investing in crypto. They're looking to do a deal, for example, with Charles Schwab. And that's part of the reason why crypto started to recover by the end of the week. Commodities and energy, U.S. crude is down almost 3% to 72.53. Brent, which is the international crude, went down to 76.76. Coffee is hitting record highs, so get ready for that to hit the grocery stores. And I'm wondering, he should have hit the tariffs after the Super Bowl, right? I wonder if all that guacamole that we're going to use for the Super Bowl is going to go up in price. Anyway, let me know in the comments. Year-to-date, silver prices from this point, from 2024 to 2025, are up over 35%. Gold is over 35.5%. Gold hit another record high this week at $2,823.10. For the week, gold was up 3.62% to $2,801.20, while silver was up 3.18% to $31.38. Financial news and banking news, the ECB, which is the European Central Bank, they decided to bring their rates down by a quarter point, or 0.25. They're down to 2.75. The European economy, the great socialist republic that is the European Union, their economy is very stagnant at the moment. So the central bank said that they're most likely going to continue dropping rates, especially all the way down to 2% this year. One of the things that we have to know, especially when we look at all these complicated economic numbers, is that consumer spending is by far the most important number in most economies around the world, especially most developed economies. So we're talking basically everywhere except, I would say, most of Africa and maybe some parts of Asia. United States, it's almost 70%, the economy, consumer spending. Places like the European Union, it's about 50%. Japan, it's just under 50%. So the largest economies in the world, essentially the economies that move the world, the majority of their economies are consumer spending. And what's consumer spending based on? The prices that you go to buy stuff at, like you and I, for example. So when they lower these interest rates, that allows a lot more people to go out and buy more stuff because they can finance houses and cars and pay for more stuff on their credit cards. Economic news, the GDP of Germany went down 0.2% in the final quarter of the year. That's 2 consecutive contractions, which means that they are now in a recession. Remember that Germany is the 3rd largest economy in the world, largest economy in the European Union. And U.S. consumer spending went up 4.2% last quarter. The previous quarter, July to September, it went up 3.7%, as a lot of people were trying to order things before the tariffs kicked in, which looks like we're at that point now. In political news, the U.S. by far is the world's largest donor, and Trump decided to freeze all foreign aid outside of emergency food and military for Israel, Egypt, and Turkey. That includes weapons for Ukraine. There was a little bit of rumors and spat in regards to DOGE, the new Department of Government Efficiency, taking control of the payments, and everybody that was doing the payments that came from the Treasury was making payments just automatically to anybody. They wouldn't stop any payments, including payments to terrorists, which I thought was really weird. So they took control of that. So it looks like we might be getting rid of quite a bit amount of bureaucracy. Trump moved to retaliate against Colombia. That was the first example of what Trump was going to do to a country that doesn't accept what he wants, in this case, returning the illegal immigrants to Colombia. Petro, which is the communist president of Colombia at the moment, which he'll be gone in 2 years, most likely, he decided not to accept a military flight with illegal immigrants in the U.S. that are Colombian. So he was sending the Colombians back to Colombia. He decided to put a 25% immediate tariff on all products coming from Colombia. In 1 week, it was going to go up to 50%. He removed the visa office from the country. On top of that, anybody that works directly with the communist government of Petro, he decided to go ahead and remove all of their visas, absolutely everything, and get them out of the country. And then Petro decided that maybe we shouldn't mess with the U.S. And he decided to receive all the flights, and now there's no tariffs or anything happening with Colombia. $50 million in condoms for Gaza was also stopped by the Trump administration, thanks to DOGE. And South Korean prosecutors impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol on Sunday, charges of leading an insurrection against the short-lived imposition of martial law in the country on December 3rd. He could face years of prison, and in addition to that, he wanted to ban certain type of political and parliamentary activity, in addition to try to control the media. Corporate news, I talked to you guys about NVIDIA. Their shares went down 17%, which was the biggest one-day loss according to market cap in the history of the US. Starbucks is up over 8%. They beat on their top and bottom lines when they came to their reports. Their stock is up over 8%. Remember, they got the Chipotle CEO, so they should be doing better soon. Even though their revenue came above expectations, their global same-store sales are down 4%. Foot traffic declined 6%. Fourth straight quarter with such a decline as well, so they're not doing as well. And the UPS, their shares went down over 14%, the biggest one-day drop for them ever. And that was because their biggest customer, Amazon, decided that they were going to lower their volume by 50% by the end of the half of 2026. And Amazon is their biggest customer. Toyota, still for 5 years running, the largest car maker in the world. They produced 10.8 million vehicles in 2024. Volkswagen Group is number 2. They're at over 9 million vehicles, although they both sold a lot less vehicles this year than last year. And those new Toyotas, I don't think are very good, to be honest with you. I've heard a lot of news about bad engines and things, so keep an eye on that. Walgreens plunged over 10% after they canceled their dividend. First time in 92 years. They're looking to fortify their balance sheet and reducing debt with improving free cash flow. I mentioned to you guys what happens with the Chinese startup Deepseek. They became the top rated free app on the Apple Store. And the military in the US banned them because of privacy concerns. I don't trust personally anything the Chinese do. And in some of the interesting facts for this week, hidden deep within the Earth's mantle are 2 colossal, quote unquote, islands, each the size of a continent. Remember that I reported to you guys I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago, that they found oceans, more than one, oceans underneath the crust of the Earth that have more water, each of the oceans, than all of the water in the oceans combined. A lot of stuff we still don't know. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, the preppers were right.